Jimi Hendrix opens his heart, nervous breakdowns, and the legendary Woodstock performance, The Dick Cavett Show. The weight of genius, inner struggles, and early cracks. Jimi Hendrix. The name alone conjures images of electrifying guitar solos, psychedelic stage presence, and a sound that redefined rock and roll. He was a supernova, burning brighter and faster than almost any artist before or since. Yet, beneath the dazzling spectacle and the seemingly effortless mastery of his instrument, lay a complex, often tormented soul grappling with pressures that would ultimately prove insurmountable. His journey was not merely one of musical innovation, but also a profound, often silent, battle with his own mind, marked by periods of intense anxiety and what could only be described as nervous breakdowns. Born Johnny Allen Hendrix in Seattle, Washington, in 1942, his early life was far from the glamorous rockstar narrative. Marked by poverty, a tumultuous family environment, and the early loss of his mother, Jimi found solace and expression in music. His guitar became an extension of his being, a conduit for emotions he struggled to articulate verbally. This early reliance on music as an emotional outlet would define his career, making his performances not just concerts, but raw, visceral expressions of his inner world. The rapid ascent to fame, particularly after his discovery by Chas Chandler of the Animals in 1966, thrust Jimi into a whirlwind of international attention. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, with Mitch Mitchell on drums and Noel Redding on bass, exploded onto the London scene, quickly captivating audiences and fellow musicians alike. His debut album, Are You Experienced?, was a sonic revolution, but with this meteoric rise came an unprecedented level of scrutiny and expectation. The shy, introspective man from Seattle was suddenly the most talked-about musician on the planet, a title that carried an immense psychological burden. The first signs of his inner struggles began to manifest amidst this relentless pace. The constant touring, the endless interviews, the pressure to continually innovate and outdo himself, all chipped away at his mental fortitude. While on stage, Jimi was a god, a shaman weaving spells with his Fender Stratocaster. Off stage, he was often quiet, reserved, and increasingly overwhelmed. Friends and bandmates observed a growing weariness, a sense of being constantly drained. The creative well, while seemingly infinite, demanded a heavy toll. There were instances where the pressure became visibly unbearable. Reports from various tours speak of Jimi suffering from exhaustion, anxiety attacks, and moments of profound despondency. He would sometimes withdraw completely, seeking solitude to escape the clamor of his burgeoning fame. The demands of being Jimi Hendrix, the icon, were immense, and the man behind the myth was struggling to keep pace. He was expected to be a psychedelic prophet, a guitar wizard, a showman, and a revolutionary, all while navigating the treacherous waters of the music industry, often exploited and misunderstood. His perfectionism, a driving force behind his genius, also contributed to his stress. Jimi was never satisfied, always pushing boundaries, always seeking the next sound, the next level of expression. This relentless pursuit of artistic excellence meant that every performance, every recording session, was an intense, high-stakes endeavor. The fear of not living up to his own impossibly high standards, let alone the world's expectations, weighed heavily on him. He was a pioneer, and the path of a pioneer is often a lonely one, fraught with self-doubt and the burden of forging new ground. The contrast between his explosive stage persona and his private vulnerability was stark. On stage, he was fearless, commanding, almost superhuman. Off stage, he was often described as gentle, thoughtful, and surprisingly insecure. This duality was a constant source of internal conflict. How could the man who set his guitar on fire at Monterey Pop be the same man who struggled with crippling shyness and anxiety? This internal battle was a precursor to the more pronounced breakdowns that would follow, as the machinery of fame ground on, indifferent to the human cost. The seeds of his nervous breakdowns were sown in these early years of overwhelming success. The lack of a stable support system, the constant travel, the increasing reliance on substances to cope with exhaustion and anxiety, all contributed to a fragile mental state. He was a sensitive artist thrust into a brutal industry, and his heart, though open and expressive through his music, was also vulnerable to the relentless onslaught of fame. Understanding these early struggles is crucial to appreciating the full scope of his emotional journey, a journey that would see him reach unimaginable heights while battling profound personal demons. If you're finding this deep dive into Jimi's emotional world compelling, subscribe to the channel for more untold stories and analyses of music legends. The psychological toll of Jimi Hendrix's unprecedented fame was a relentless, insidious force that gnawed at his well-being. The initial euphoria of success quickly gave way to a suffocating pressure, a constant demand for his time, his talent, and his very essence. The relentless touring schedule was brutal, a blur of hotels, venues, and airports, leaving little room for rest or personal reflection. Jimi, a naturally introverted individual, found himself constantly exposed, constantly performing, even when off stage. This perpetual state of being on was utterly exhausting. Substance use, initially a recreational indulgence, gradually became a coping mechanism. The exhaustion, the anxiety, the difficulty sleeping after electrifying performances, all contributed to a reliance on various substances to either wind down or gear up. While never defining his genius, this aspect of his life undeniably exacerbated his mental health struggles, creating a vicious cycle of temporary relief followed by deeper lows. The clarity of mind required to navigate the complexities of his career and personal life was often clouded, making it harder to address the underlying issues. A pervasive sense of paranoia began to creep into Jimi's psyche. He felt constantly watched, judged, and often exploited. The music industry, then as now, was notorious for its predatory elements, and Jimi, a visionary artist with little business acumen, was particularly vulnerable. He was surrounded by hangers-on, managers, and associates who often had their own interests at heart, leading to feelings of betrayal and isolation. This paranoia was not entirely unfounded. He was indeed being taken advantage of financially and creatively in many instances. The feeling of being misunderstood, of having his artistic intentions misinterpreted or diluted, was a heavy burden. He was a black artist in a predominantly white rock scene, and while celebrated, he also faced racial prejudice and the burden of representation. Adding to this immense pressure were the unspoken, and sometimes overt, rivalries with other musicians. The British rock scene of the late 1960s was a hotbed of guitar talent, and Jimi's arrival sent shockwaves through it. Legends like Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Pete Townsend, who had previously dominated the guitar landscape, suddenly found themselves challenged by this audacious American. While many admired Jimi's genius, there was an undeniable competitive edge. Eric Clapton, then with Cream, was considered the reigning guitar god. Jimi's legendary impromptu jam with Cream at the Regent Street Polytechnic in 1966, where he effortlessly outshone Clapton, became a pivotal moment. While Clapton expressed admiration, the encounter undoubtedly fueled a competitive fire. For Jimi, these rivalries were a double-edged sword. On one hand, they pushed him to continually innovate, to prove himself worthy of the hype. On the other, they added another layer of pressure, a constant need to be the best, to never falter. The burden of being the guitar god was immense, a title that demanded perpetual groundbreaking performance. Pete Townsend of The Who, another contemporary, also felt the impact of Jimi's arrival. Townsend, known for his aggressive stage presence and innovative guitar work, recognized Jimi's unparalleled talent. While there was mutual respect, the competitive atmosphere was palpable. Jimi was aware of these comparisons and the expectations they generated. He was not just competing with others. He was competing with the myth of Jimi Hendrix, a myth he himself was creating with every incendiary performance. Jeff Beck, another guitar virtuoso, also acknowledged Jimi's transformative power. The sheer audacity and originality of Jimi's playing forced everyone to reevaluate their approach to the instrument. This constant push for innovation, while a testament to his genius, was also a source of immense stress. Jimi felt a profound responsibility to his art, to his audience, and to himself, to always push the boundaries, to never settle for anything less than revolutionary. This internal drive, coupled with external pressures, created a crucible of fame that tested his mental and emotional limits. The isolation that often accompanies genius further compounded his struggles. Who could truly understand the world Jimi inhabited? Who could he confide in about the immense weight he carried? His bandmates, while close, were also part of the whirlwind, experiencing their own pressures. True confidants were rare, and the deeper he delved into his artistic vision, the more solitary his path became. This isolation, combined with the relentless demands and competitive environment, contributed significantly to the psychological toll he endured. He was a man constantly searching for connection, yet often feeling profoundly alone amidst millions of adoring fans. What are your thoughts on the immense pressures artists face, especially during rapid rises to fame? Leave a comment with your thoughts below and let us know. The summer of 1969 was a pivotal moment in American history, and its defining cultural event was the Woodstock Music and Art Fair. For Jimi Hendrix, his performance at Woodstock was not just another gig. It was an epic-making event, a moment where his genius converged with the spirit of a generation, creating an indelible mark on music history. However, the path to that legendary performance was fraught with chaos, exhaustion, and immense pressure, reflecting the very struggles that defined his emotional journey. Woodstock itself was a logistical nightmare. What was planned for 50,000 attendees swelled to nearly 500,000, overwhelming infrastructure and creating a scene of beautiful, yet disorganized, anarchy. Delays were rampant, and Jimi, originally scheduled to close the festival on Sunday night, found himself pushed back to Monday morning. By the time he took the stage, most of the massive crowd had already departed, leaving a dedicated, if weary, few tens of thousands to witness history. This delay, coupled with the general disarray, added to the mental strain on Jimi and his newly formed band, Gypsy Sun and Rainbows, later known as Band of Gypsies. Jimi's state of mind leading up to the performance was a complex mix of exhaustion, anticipation, and the ever-present pressure to deliver. He had been touring relentlessly, and the demands of forming a new band with different musical dynamics, featuring Mitch Mitchell, Billy Cox, Larry Lee, Juma Sultan, and Jerry Velez, added another layer of stress. He was experimenting with new sounds, moving away from the Experience's power trio format, and this performance was a major public unveiling of his evolving musical direction. The weight of expectation, not just from the remaining audience, but from the entire music world, was immense. He was the closing act of the most iconic festival of the era, and he knew it. When Jimi finally stepped onto the stage at approximately 9 a.m. on Monday, August 18th, he was introduced as Jimi Hendrix and the Woodstock Experience. He corrected the announcer, stating, "The Jimi Hendrix Experience is no more. It's Gypsy Sun and Rainbows for short. It's a band of gypsies." This subtle correction underscored his desire for artistic evolution and his struggle to break free from the confines of past successes. Dressed in a white fringed jacket and blue jeans, he looked both iconic and utterly human, a figure of immense power and quiet vulnerability. The performance itself was a masterclass in improvisation, raw emotion, and sheer musical audacity. Opening with Message to Love, the band launched into a set that showcased Jimi's unparalleled guitar prowess. He moved through classics like Fire, Voodoo Child, Slight Return, and Purple Haze, each note dripping with his signature blend of blues, rock, and psychedelic innovation. Technical difficulties, a common occurrence at Woodstock, plagued parts of the set, but Jimi, ever the improviser, seamlessly worked through them, turning potential flaws into moments of spontaneous brilliance. His guitar became a living entity, wailing, screaming, whispering, and soaring, reflecting the tumultuous emotions of the era. The centerpiece of his Woodstock performance, and arguably one of the most iconic moments in music history, was his rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. What began as a recognizable melody quickly transformed into a searing, visceral protest. Jimi used his guitar to mimic the sounds of bombs dropping, machine guns firing, and the cries of war, directly referencing the ongoing Vietnam War. It was a powerful, unapologetic political statement delivered through pure sound, a moment of profound artistic courage. He wasn't just playing a song. He was channeling the collective anguish and dissent of a generation, using his instrument as a voice for the voiceless. The performance was not universally understood or appreciated at the time, with some critics decrying it as disrespectful. However, in hindsight, it is recognized as a monumental artistic and political statement, a testament to music's power to reflect and shape society. The impact of this performance was immediate and long-lasting. It cemented Jimi Hendrix's legend, not just as a guitar virtuoso, but as a cultural icon, a voice for a generation. For Jimi himself, it was a moment of immense triumph, a validation of his artistic vision and his ability to connect with an audience on a profound level. Yet, it also added to the immense pressure. How do you follow such a moment? How do you continue to innovate when you've already reached such a peak? The Woodstock performance, while a testament to his genius, also became another benchmark, another expectation to live up to, further contributing to the psychological burden he carried. It was a moment of opening his heart to the world, laying bare his feelings about war and peace through his instrument, a vulnerability that resonated deeply. If you're enjoying this detailed account of Jimi's iconic moments, please like the video to show your support. In the whirlwind of his extraordinary career, amidst the deafening roar of stadiums and the blinding flash of cameras, Jimi Hendrix occasionally stepped into a different kind of spotlight, the television talk show. His appearances on The Dick Cavett Show in 1969 and 1970 offered a rare glimpse into the man behind the myth, revealing a vulnerability and openness that contrasted sharply with his fiery stage persona. These interviews were moments where Jimi truly opened his heart, allowing the public to see the thoughtful, articulate, and sometimes shy individual beneath the psychedelic showman. The Dick Cavett Show was known for its intelligent conversations and its host's ability to draw out his guests. For Jimi, appearing on such a mainstream platform was a departure from the counterculture venues he typically inhabited. It was an opportunity to speak directly to a broader audience, to articulate his artistic philosophy, and to dispel some of the wilder myths surrounding him. His demeanor on the show was striking, often soft-spoken, polite, and surprisingly reserved, a stark contrast to the wild, guitar-wielding shaman seen on stage. During his first appearance in July 1969, just weeks before Woodstock, Jimi was joined by Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding. Cavett, with his characteristic wit and intellectual curiosity, engaged Jimi in a conversation that went beyond superficial questions about his music. Jimi spoke about his influences, citing blues legends like Muddy Waters and B.B. King, and discussed his approach to music as a form of communication. He articulated his belief that music was a universal language, capable of transcending barriers and expressing emotions that words often failed to capture. This was a profound insight into his artistic soul, revealing his deep connection to the spiritual and communicative power of sound. One particularly poignant moment came when Cavett asked about his stage antics, specifically setting his guitar on fire. Jimi explained it as a spontaneous act, a way to express the intensity of his feelings, almost as if the music itself was too hot to contain. He wasn't trying to be destructive. He was trying to convey an overwhelming emotion. This explanation humanized an act that many had perceived as mere showmanship, revealing the artistic impulse behind it. He spoke about the pressure of performing, the exhaustion, and the constant demand for new material, hinting at the psychological toll he was enduring. His second appearance in September 1969, after Woodstock, was even more revealing. By this point, the Star-Spangled Banner performance had become a national talking point, drawing both praise and condemnation. Cavett directly addressed the controversy, asking Jimi about his intentions behind the iconic rendition. Jimi's response was measured and articulate. He explained that he didn't find it unpatriotic, but rather a reflection of the state of America at the time. "I thought it was beautiful," he said, "but I didn't think it was that wild." He clarified that he was simply playing what he felt, using his guitar to express the sounds of war and the emotions of a divided nation. He wasn't trying to be provocative for provocation's sake. He was simply being honest through his art. This interview showcased Jimi's intelligence and his ability to articulate complex ideas, often with a quiet intensity. He discussed his desire to move beyond the Guitar Hero label, to explore new musical territories, and to create a more cohesive band sound. He spoke about his struggles with the music business, the difficulties of maintaining artistic integrity amidst commercial pressures, and his yearning for creative freedom. These were not the words of a wild, unthinking rock star, but of a thoughtful, sensitive artist grappling with the realities of his extraordinary life. The Dick Cavett Show appearances were crucial in demystifying Jimi Hendrix. They allowed the public to see the human being behind the legend, a man who was eloquent, introspective, and deeply committed to his art. He wasn't just a guitar player. He was a philosopher, a poet, and a social commentator, using his unique voice to express profound truths. These moments of vulnerability, where he opened his heart and shared his inner world, revealed the depth of his character and the sensitivity that fueled his genius. They underscored the fact that even the most electrifying performers are complex individuals with their own struggles, hopes, and fears. His willingness to engage in such candid conversations, despite his inherent shyness, was a testament to his desire to connect with people on a deeper level, beyond the spectacle. For more insightful content like this, exploring the human side of musical icons, subscribe for more content and join our community. Jimi Hendrix's life was a brief, incandescent flash across the firmament of music, ending tragically on September 18, 1970, at the age of 27. His untimely death, attributed to aspiration of vomit while intoxicated with barbiturates, sent shockwaves through the world, leaving an unfillable void. While the circumstances of his passing remain a subject of speculation and sorrow, it undeniably brought into sharp focus the immense pressures and vulnerabilities faced by artists, particularly those who burn as brightly as Jimi did. His death, like those of other members of the 27 Club, served as a stark reminder of the human cost of extraordinary fame and the often unseen battles waged within. Despite his short life, Jimi's legacy is monumental and enduring. He didn't just play the guitar, he reinvented it. He pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible with the instrument, transforming it into a voice capable of expressing the full spectrum of human emotion. His innovative use of feedback, distortion, and the wah-wah pedal created a sonic palette that was revolutionary, influencing countless guitarists across genres. From rock and blues to funk and even jazz, Jimi's fingerprints are evident in the soundscapes of generations that followed. Albums like Are You Experienced?, Axis, Bold as Love, and Electric Ladyland remain essential listening, timeless masterpieces that continue to inspire and challenge. His music was a fusion of raw power, psychedelic exploration, and profound bluesy soul, a testament to his boundless creativity. Beyond his technical prowess, Jimi's legacy lies in his artistic fearlessness and his ability to communicate deep emotional truths through his music. He was an artist who truly opened his heart, whether through the searing protest of the Star-Spangled Banner or the tender introspection of Little Wing. His performances were not just concerts. They were spiritual experiences, communal rituals where he channeled universal emotions through his instrument. He showed the world that music could be a powerful tool for social commentary, personal expression, and spiritual transcendence. Revisiting the theme of mental health, Jimi's struggles highlight a critical, often overlooked, aspect of the music industry. His nervous breakdowns, his battles with anxiety, exhaustion, and paranoia were not isolated incidents, but symptoms of a systemic problem. The relentless demands of touring, the constant pressure to create, the lack of privacy, the exploitation, and the easy access to substances all contribute to a toxic environment for many artists. Jimi's story serves as a poignant reminder that behind the larger-than-life stage persona is a human being, susceptible to the same vulnerabilities as anyone else, often amplified by the unique pressures of fame. In the decades since Jimi's passing, the music industry has slowly begun to acknowledge the importance of mental health support for artists. However, the pressures faced by musicians today, amplified by social media and the 24/7 news cycle, are arguably even more intense. Jimi's experience underscores the vital need for robust mental health resources, supportive management, and a culture that prioritizes the well-being of artists over relentless commercial demands. It's a call to action for the industry to better protect its most valuable assets, the creative minds that enrich our lives with their art. Jimi Hendrix's life was a testament to the power of artistic expression and the profound impact one individual can have on the world. His music continues to resonate, a vibrant, living force that transcends time. But his story is also a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fragility of the human spirit, even within the most extraordinary talents. By understanding his emotional journey, his moments of vulnerability, and the battles he fought within, we gain a deeper appreciation for the man behind the legend. He opened his heart through his interviews and his performances, revealing the human side of a musical genius who, despite his struggles, left an indelible mark on the soul of music. His legacy is not just about the notes he played, but about the emotions he evoked, the boundaries he shattered, and the enduring human spirit he embodied. We hope you've enjoyed this comprehensive look into the life and struggles of Jimi Hendrix. If you found this content valuable, please like and comment to support the channel and help us continue telling these important stories.